Hi there, welcome back to the Flask Mastery Series. In this session, we shall be working on the project structure of our author's API. So let's get started. So first of all, we are going to go ahead and create a directory for our project by typing mkdir make directory, and then we pass in the directory name Flask author's API. Then we change directory to our newly created folder, and then we shall go ahead and open it in Visual Studio Code. So once it has been opened within our IDE, for my case I'm working with Visual Studio Code, but you can always work with any IDE of your choice. So as always, the first thing we are going to do is to create a virtual environment for the directory that is going to store all the project dependencies that we are going to be working with in the future. So we invoke the virtual environment model, and then the name for this virtual environment can still be virtual. So we know that the virtual environment folder is always a subfolder that is created within our directory. So having it been created, we have to go ahead and activate it, virtual env, then backslash for those who are working with Windows, then backslash, we invoke the activate file. And having it been activated, the first library we are going to install is the Flask library. And you know that for any third-party library that we have to work with, we always use the Python index package pip, such that it installs all these other third-party libraries that we want to work with. So pip install Flask. So once it has been installed, I'll go ahead and clear up this terminal. So for this project, we are going to go ahead and create a new folder that is going to act as our package, such that it stores all other modules and files that we are going to be working with in the future. So the package, of course, is going to be a new folder. For this case, I can give it folder name as app. So for us to make it a package, we are going to go ahead and add the init file, such that in case we create any other modules within this folder, we always have the ability of importing them and working with them elsewhere. Since we are going to be working with multiple instances from different third-party libraries like Flask SQL Alchemy, Flask Migrate, Bcrypt, we really need to work with multiple instances that must be initialized or instantiated on our Flask application. So that means that we actually have to improve the project structure by working with the application factory function, which will enable us to set up different configurations for development and testing, and it will also ease our work of working with the blueprints. So that means that the application factory function is going to go ahead and organize our project such that it is easy to manage and maintain the code. So for this case, the application factory function is always a function, but with a special name called create app, or sometimes it has a name called make app. So the difference while we are working with the application factory function is that we always define our app instance within this function. So I'll first of all go ahead and import the Flask class. So within our application factory function, we create a variable app and we instantiate it on the Flask class, and we pass in the required parameters. So the difference is that this variable is always stored within this function. In other words, it acts as a local variable for our function create app, and we always return the variable name that we have worked with, such that we always have the ability to set up different configurations like development, testing, and production environments, if any. And also the application factory function will give us support for easily working with different third-party libraries as well as blueprints. So as of now, I'm going to go ahead and test our application by creating a simple route that returns a simple string literal like authors API project setup, something like that. So the route will be a slash like the index route, and then the function can be home. Then we return the string literal authors API project setup. So we are now going to go ahead and run our application so that we try to understand the difference that comes in while we work with the application factory function. So we know that generally whenever we are running the application, we are going to type Flask run, then it runs the application. So if I control click on this, so we are seeing authors API project setup. You can also work with the terminal in a way that you want to export this application. For instance, I'm going to go ahead and create a new terminal. For this case, I'll be working with the command prompt. And within the command prompt, still the first thing we have to do is activate our virtual environment, scripts, then backslash, activate. And when I type a Flask run, our application is actually running. But there are times whereby you want to actually set the environment variables for this application within the terminal. So I'll first of all clear this up. So we know that most of the times we can also say Flask app. Then we assign it to our package, which is app. So of course, not forgetting that we set, then we pass in the environment variable, then we assign it such that and so a Flask run and the application is still exported. So for example, project setup 1. So when I try to refresh, we can see that authors API project setup 1 has been displayed. So manually setting up the environment variables is not the best practice for you to always work with. So the best way is to create a .env file. So I'll create a new file, .env, and sometimes it can also be named .flaskenv. It's also the same thing. So within the .env file, we always have to go ahead and export our environment variables, having defined them. So we export the Flask app, because there are cases whereby you're going to run the application and it's not actually exporting our package. So Flask app, then we assign it to the package. So I'll first of all clear this up and activate the terminal very fast, such that when I do a Flask run, so we see that whenever we add a .env file within our directory, we get a tip that there are .env or .flaskenv files present. Do you want to install python .env to use them? So this is true because we want to work with the .env files such that we have the ability of setting our environment variables. So I'll clear this up and paste such that we install this library so that it enables us to easily work with our environment variables. So pip install python.env, then press enter. So once it has been installed, I'm going to run the application by typing a Flask run. Then we can see that the application is still running. So we can also see that when our application runs successfully, we get a response in the terminal that serving Flask app, then the name of the package we are working with. So for this case, the package name is app, as we have defined it here. So we can also see that the debug mode for our application is off. That means that in case of any changes that occur within the application, they are not going to be automatically triggered. So we can go ahead and work with the debug mode in a way that it is always set to true. So we can therefore go ahead and create a new file, run.python file, and within this file we are going to go ahead and import our app instance. From app we import the create app. So we are importing our application factory function, and we know that this application factory function is storing the app instance. So we shall therefore go ahead and define a variable app that is going to be assigned to the app instance. So we shall check if the name is equal to main. Then we shall therefore go ahead and update our debug mode to true. So app.run, then parameter passing debug will be set to true, such that if I first of all kill this terminal, and for this case I'm going to invoke the run.python file. So python run.py. So we can now see that debug mode has been set to true. That means that in case we make any changes within any file, for example, if I go ahead and comment this by saying that this is going to be the application factory function, we can actually see that the debug mode is active and it automatically takes updates for any changes that occur within the application. So that is it for the project setup as of now. See you again in the next session where we are going to be working on our project structure. Thanks for watching.